In this video, I'm going to show you how you can move from one unit of time to another. And what I mean by that is, oftentimes you'll have a transaction log, and it may be at the, say, minute or hour level of time granularity. You might be interested in doing your analysis at the daily level. Or you might have a case like this where your data is available at the daily level, and what you're interested in modeling is data at the weekly or the monthly level or something like that. And so oftentimes what you want to do is you'll want to kind of aggregate all of the data for a customer within each different unit of time that you want to use. So for example here, we see that again our data is available at the daily level. All that means is if someone made multiple purchases within a day, that would be represented through one row in this data set, and the total amount of spend associated with that day for that customer is simply the total amount of spend across all the purchases that had occurred on that day. And so what we're going to do is we're going to convert this to weekly. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to convert the date into a proper date format. So I'm going to first pull the year, I'm then going to pull the month, and then I'm going to pull the day. Take that, use that formula for all the purchases here, and then I'm just going to copy and paste the values to hard code them. Now that I have that, I'm just going to pull this over here because we only need one proper date column. Expand this a little bit. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the minimum date in the data set. So we can see from this, the first date that there's a purchase in this data set is January 1st, 1997. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically create what is effectively a grid of purchases, a sequence of purchase dates. So if I just kind of go format over here, let's pick a more concise date format. What we'll do is we'll take all the purchases that happened between January 1st, 1997 and January 7th, 1997 inclusive, and push them all back to January 1st. And then we're going to do the same thing for the purchases that happened between January 8th and January 14th. If we saw a purchase in that range, we're going to push it back to the 8th, and so on and so forth. And the easiest way to do that is to first get the day of the week associated with this reference date that we're going to use, January 1st, 1997. So you can get the day of the week of that date by going over here. So that gives us the day of the week as well as the month and day and year. And what I can do then is create a new column for the weekday number, basically the day of week number. So if we just go weekday, over here, now what we're going to do is we're going to get the day of the week of each of these purchases. And the key is, if we want to do this aligning on that sequence of dates that I mentioned just a moment ago, we want to choose the setting such that the first day of the week, day number 1 in the week, corresponds to that date. So we want a 1 associated with that Wednesday. So we can see over here, if we set the return type equal to 13, then it's going to start the week on the Wednesday. So we can look at a few others like this. If we were to just kind of take this and copy and paste the format, we can see, for example, this purchase happened on a Thursday. So Wednesday corresponds to weekday number 1, Thursday corresponds to weekday number 2. Obviously, then Saturday corresponds to weekday number 4 because we have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's doing what we would expect it to. So I'm just going to kind of undo that, convert these back to normal dates, and I'm going to drag this down all the way. And then what we can do is we can create a new date column. In truth, this is kind of the date week. And I'm just going to take this date, I'm going to subtract the weekday number, and I'm going to add 1. And all that's going to do is it's going to give me this date, but pushed back to the Wednesday of that week. And so if it just so happened that this date was a Wednesday, then the date week would be equal to the date. Otherwise, if it falls within that subsequent week, the Thursday, the Friday, the Saturday, the Sunday, the Monday, or the Tuesday afterwards, it's going to get pushed back to the Wednesday. So now that we've got our date week, I'm just going to again hard code this, copy and paste the values. And then what I need to do next is I need to aggregate all the purchasing that happens within particular date weeks for each customer. And the easiest way to do this is to do a pivot table. So I'm going to highlight all this data, go Insert, Pivot Table, existing worksheet. I'm going to put it right over here. And I am going to have rows be the customer ID, date week, and then I'm going to sum up all of the spend within each of those date weeks for each customer. These pivot tables, they default to including the year and the quarter. So if you just go to ungroup after clicking over here, it's going to just give you back the original dates. And now the only thing we need to do is click on the customer IDs, right click, go to field settings. We don't want subtotals. We want to show the item labels in tabular form and then repeat the item labels. And this gives us our transaction log aggregated to the weekly level. So if we just kind of go over here, copy and paste, customer ID, I'm just going to call this date. We all know. And I'm going to then relabel this to be the amount. And that's our aggregated transaction log.